All right, we finally made it to our last column here where we get to add our mesh terms into our concept map. And I know we kind of went over them just a little bit with when we were looking for different keywords for entry terms in mesh, and then also a little bit with the Yale Mesh Analyzer. But now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of actually adding the terms that we want to add for our concept map for this topic. So we're just going to go concept by concept. I'm just going to show you this most kind of efficient process, I would say, of searching for mesh and then adding it to the map. So you see right here, I have all the different keywords we've gone over. So really how it all works is I kind of go concept by concept, and I will grab physician assistant. Also, by the way, if you don't know how to get to mesh, you can go to PubMed, and then they always have a link down here to mesh database, or even if you scroll all the way down, mesh is always at the bottom as well. All right, so if I just type in physician assistant, I'm going to search, and luckily it is a topic. So as I said before, we kind of went through the different entry terms and such like that. You can see where the tree is and look at that a little bit more. But today, when we're going through to add it to our concept map, we're really just going to be kind of quickly adding. So the way you do it and the way it can be in the proper format to make everything easier for you later, just like we've been doing where we put the quotation marks already and the truncation already attached to each keyword. This is just going to make things smoother for us later. So if we found a topic that we like, a mesh term, we're going to add it to our search builder. And I'm just going to copy and paste that entire term and paste it right over here. Now we're just going to go to nurse practitioner, type that in, see if that is a term, and it is. So we've got a couple different other nurse practitioners. That is something that, depending on the topic, you'll think about to see if it's worth adding that in or not. And so here we go. We'll add to our search builder again. I'm just going to copy and paste nurse practitioners to mesh. Add that one in. Let's see if there's one specifically for advanced practice provider. Nope, not for that one, and that's okay. Sometimes there just aren't, and sometimes they map to something else. Try advanced practice nurse. Nothing maps to that. Advanced clinician. Nothing maps to that one. Advanced practitioner. Nothing to that one. Mid-level provider. Nothing for that one either. Again, that's all right, but kind of about what we thought would be physician assistants and nurse practitioners. But this is exactly why we don't only search with mesh terms, because clearly that is going to cover those our major two types of practitioners and providers, but it doesn't cover everyone. And so this is why we add in all the keywords as well. All right, let's move on to our next concept, education. So I'm going to add in education. There's obviously a lot of different possibilities. So I'm going to put just this regular education in here. Again, easy is just to add it to the search builder. Copy and paste it over. I'm going to go back this for a second. And let's scroll back here, take a look at what we've got for different possibilities. I do, in this education subheading is pretty interesting. I think it's that when we saw, when we were looking at Yale Mesh, where they had, nurse practitioners, education. So this is something we could possibly think of adding. I'm not going to do it today. I would want to kind of look into that more. But just a thought that it's interesting that even some of these like major subheadings will pop up. All right, let's try curriculum. All right, here's its own subheading. Some of this process, unfortunately, is just a little tedious, and that's okay. It is what it is. You're trying to capture absolutely everything, and it all has to be in the right format and so on. So teaching. Interesting that all these are its own mesh terms. Training. training. See, now notice how this one, there's lots of other possibilities of training, but really it's mapping to education right off the bat, which makes sense. So we are not going to add, there is no its own thing. I'm also going to clear this just because it's getting a little messy. All right, let's try pedagogy. Yep, the maps right to teaching. So again, we don't need to do that one. Didactic might have its own. Let's take a look. Lecture, that's interesting. I'm going to say we could certainly add this. No, if it's a publication type, I probably wouldn't. Really, I'd only be adding it in if it's truly a MeSH term. So I think on this one I would maybe hold back on, but interesting that that's what that links to actually. Hey, here we go. Learning is its own topic. So there's our second concept done.